Well, Jimmy, it looks like I'm just gonna have to trust in God and eat that donut later, I guess.
Eat that donut later on this Eat an Extra Dessert Day, by the way. You might want to get those desserts in early if you live on the Gulf Coast because, it's hurricane season and you need to be stocked up on good things to eat. You need to make sure you have that water. You need to make sure you have the non perishables. A lot of stuff you're going to need. Make sure you got that generator in place. And make sure that you're listening if you're out on the road and if you actually own your own company, if you got a lot of trucks rolling out there, if you're the kind of person who's made an investment in areas where natural disasters strike. You really want to hear from Kathy Fulton, the executive director of the American Logistics Aid Network. Of course, that is Alan. You can go to Alan Aid, ALAN. AID.org. You can find them on the Book of Face at Alan Aid. You can also find them on LinkedIn at American Logistics Aid Network, and of course on the gram of Insta at Alan Aid. And we are thrilled to welcome you back. How you been, Kathy? What's going on?
Hey, good morning. It's good to be with you all.
It,
What a day, right?
it has been one heck of a morning over here, and I always say that we run this show, and it often seems like that too. One step ahead of the sheriff, and there are too many people, by the way, whether they're in business or whether they're in government or whether they're on a personal level, who kind of, when it comes to natural disasters, when it comes to any sort of issues out there, really run it by the seat of their pants and one step ahead of the sheriff. You don't do that.
Yeah.
You are not guilty of
No,
that, are you?
no. I was getting ready to come on the show this morning, I'm looking at all my favorite weather sites, looking at what's happening 10, 12 days from now, because that's how we plan for months, but we've got to think about it in 2 week increments this time of year. What's coming next week or week after?
Yeah, and it's always, it's a matter of what's that thing where a good New Orleanian doesn't know just what's in the Gulf. They know what dust storm has actually come off the coast of Africa and it's making its way
That's
across.
right.
Just like a Californian knows which direction the Santa Ana winds are blowing in. I mean,
Oh
all
yeah.
all of that stuff is something that like you have to kind of pay attention to. And really quickly before we dig into the stuff that you want to talk about, I want to remind our friends the time to have your meeting with your family and your employees and your employers about what you're going to do when things go down in the wrong
Yeah.
direction is right now, isn't it?
Yeah, that's true. Like I love that you talk about family and your business, right? Uh, we businesses do not survive if their employees are not taken care of, and employees don't come to work if their families aren't taken care of. So, as a business owner, you have to be thinking not just about your own family and about your own business, but about the people who are showing up for you every day, the people who are doing the work, putting in the hours, making sure that they have a plan and that their families have a plan. That's such a good point, Jimmy.
Yeah, and I want to thank you because I got a chance to look over the stuff that you sent us, and of course, really kind of get into this. We alluded to it the last time we spoke, but of course, it seemed like speaking of force majeure and acts of God, we had a few issues going. We are free and clear of those issues today. I know that my friends are telling me over here at the headquarters that the signal is going out nice, clear, and clean.
Yeah, good.
Talk to me a bit about the Signal and Shield Camp initiative because it really is a great example of partnerships. It's a great example of early planning. It's a great example of doing
Yeah.
right by people.
Yeah, thanks so much for asking about that. We had this horrific flooding in Texas just not too long ago, right? And we've all heard and seen how many people lost their lives. Some of those people lost their lives because they didn't get alerts on their phone. They're out camping, they're out in the middle of the woods, they don't have great cell phone signal. Well, the thing that does provide a good signal is a weather radio. And so, in partnership with the American Camp Association and the Private Sector Emergency Management Association, and the Private Sector Emergency Management Association, PACEMA, is our lead partner on this. We're trying to put weather radios in every camp in the nation, 12,000 camps out there. And so we're going to be looking for people who can help with the distribution of those, people who can help with the funding of those, people who can just help with, the sweat equity of that. We don't want any other person to ever lose their life just because they could not get an alert about whether that was coming. I personally have a weather radio. I spent 31 years of my life in Florida dealing with hurricanes. I test my weather radio. After the Texas thing, I pulled it out and I thought, man, if only those kids had this.
Yeah, I keep thinking about that. And, we talked about this yesterday. We were doing some training exercises here, and we were also talking to the drivers about this yesterday. The way to kind of conceive of a natural disaster, whether it's a flood or a hurricane or a tornado or anything like that, is it's a trip. It is a journey.
Yeah.
I mean, it really puts you through a journey, and any journey that doesn't have a pre-trip before it is basically hurtling into disaster. These radios are so important, and I want to kind of, if you feel like you can, kind of put in perspective what the simple thing of having that radio provides people, and what it could have done to actually the smallest of gestures, simply having those radios, what it could have done, not to mitigate the flood. The flood is going to happen. The hurricane is going to happen. But what it could have done to save more lives had this been in place.
Yeah, I mean, what a great analogy with the pre-trip. When you think about the modern technology we have with cell phones and, satellite radio, which is a great blessing to us all. But sometimes you need to have even just the simplest of technology, a battery-powered device, radio that operates on airwaves rather than worrying about, a satellite signal or worrying about, somebody pushing a button to send an alert. And that's what these weather radios are. They will, you just set it and forget it is one of those things. Just make sure it's got the batteries are charged, make sure that it's tuned to the right station, which is a really simple process. And it's going to go off without you even having to do anything. I'll give you an example. I was sitting, at my house not too long ago, not long after these floods, and my weather radio went off. And I thought, man, I'd forgotten that we set it up when we moved into the new house. It was because there was some severe weather in the area. I was able to check it out, make sure that, I was ready to go. We had water, we had everything charged up and ready. In the case of the camps in Texas, if they had those radios, it would have alerted them as soon as the National Weather Service issued the alert, without having to wait on, someone else to intervene. And they could have, looked for higher ground. I can't say it any more plain than that.
No, I mean, and that's kind of, I always think about that wonderful, sad joke about the man who says, he hears the storm is coming on his radio, and he says, I'm not worried, I have God, he'll protect me. And then the rain begins to fall, and the truck comes by, and he says, get in. He says, no, I have God, he'll protect me. Then he has to climb up on his roof, and the guy comes by in the boat, and he says, get in. He goes, no, God will protect me. And eventually the water rises, and he drowns, and he gets to heaven, and he's angry at God, and he said, I prayed to you, and you didn't help me. And God goes, I sent you a radio report, a truck, and a boat. What more do you want from me, man? And in this way, what you guys are doing here is you are giving people the radio. It's the first part of the step, and that's such an important part of this step. And I want you to talk about your partners. You mentioned you mentioned FEMA, but I want to talk about the American Camp Association a little bit too, and kind of give people an understanding about why they're such a necessary partner in this.
Yeah. So the American Camp Association is the group that helps provide training and leadership for all of the various camps across the United States. Now, not every camp belongs to the American Camp Association, but a good chunk of them do. And, when they're out there providing that training, this is just another way for them to train on the safety of protecting kids who are at camp. I'm a mom. I sent my daughter to sleepaway camp when she was younger. I never thought about it, right? I knew that I trusted the people that I was sending her to camp with, but I never thought, what if there's a weather situation? This is just another way for that camp association, American Camp Association, to help all of those individual camps take care of kids better.
Yeah, and this is really an important thing for a lot of people to remember is that, as you said, look, there's a lot of great, first of all, when you send your kids to these camps, a lot of the people that perished in those camps perished saving children, giving themselves up to make sure the children made it to higher ground. So we're not talking about the character of those people. What we're talking about is those people understanding that weather is become more extreme. whether, there is no predicting it. A flash floods, they call it a flash flood for a reason. It's there in a flash. Much like a tornado, it just kind of comes up and that you have very little warning. What they're doing, from what I understand and from what you've been saying, but also from some of the reading I've done, is they're making sure that the next time something like this happens, that everybody in those camps understands what the smartest routes, the smartest way, and the smartest kind of ways to begin. Having radios helps. I mean, those people having radios helps as well too, because it gives them the upper hand to begin to move people before it looks bad, and that's a big thing too. I mean, the idea is you're constantly, in case stuff happens, you want to be kind of like, you know what, let's go find the higher ground now. But it's just raining a little bit. Yeah, but I heard the radio report. Let's begin to make that move, right?
Well, I mean, back to your analogy of the pre-trip, every act of preparedness and every planning and every, testing and exercise that you can do ahead of something bad happening, it's a little bit like insurance, right? You hope you never need it, but my goodness, aren't you glad that you had it when you did need it? And that's what we're trying to do. We're just trying to give these camps some, the radio and some training and some information. We hope that they never need it, right? We don't want bad stuff happening, but we know that that's inevitable. With 12,000 camps across the country, we know that at least one of them is going to have some weather event that they're going to have to deal with. If we can get them just, 10% more prepared, that's going to save lives. That's going to help those kids feel better about being there. It's certainly going to help parents feel better about sending their kids away. I can only imagine, just people thinking about that every time they send their kid away now. What is this camp going to do to protect me? This is just one way that parents can have that assurance that, these people are trained, they have the equipment that they need, and they're going to do everything in their power. We're not talking about the character of these people who give up their summers to go and help these kids, right? No, this is all about just giving them one more tool in their toolbox, one more item on their checklist to make sure that they're doing everything possible to protect these campers.
My dad once said about teachers and camp counselors, he said, they don't just care for your kids, they care for you. Because let's face it, there's a lot of parents in the middle of the summer who desperately need a break. Let's be really honest, who just need to get a couple. But think about what teachers and camp counselors do. They're not just caring for the well-being of those children. They literally are, training themselves to a place where people can drop those children off and they can look them in the eye and say, I got it. I got you, kid.
That's right.
I'm going to take care of, which means you get to have a little R&R and not be like, I wonder if the kids are actually jumping off the bunk beds now at camp. I wonder if people are missing ropes that they're supposed to hang on to. I wonder how the watermelon contest is going. All that kind of stuff needs to be kind of, fondly thinking of them and not worried about what happens. Once again, this whole situation has been forged by a bunch of partnerships. We've talked about Midland Radio, but like I said, this is a lot of moving pieces. So kind of working Midland into all this, talk about how you coordinate the separate groups to kind of move in the same direction to kind of accomplish this goal.
Yeah, and we're incredibly proud of the work that Midland Radio has done for a very long time. I think they were like the first radio, weather radio company in the nation. We've worked with them a few times. They are incredibly generous partners to be able to, share these radios at a deep discount so that we can get more of them into people's hands. I will say, just personally, we worked with Midland Radio through a couple other partners after the Hawaii fires and helped to get some radios over to Hawaii, because similar type event where had that warning gone out sooner, people's lives would have been saved, right? So Midland is providing the technology. FEMA is providing all of the training and expertise. The Camp Association is, helping to coordinate where the radios and the training and expertise need to get to. And Alan and the logistics industry are going to make sure that those radios get there, right? That's the great thing about truckers and the logistics community. We want to help. We all want to be helpful. We all want to be useful. I don't have the expertise to go talk to campers, camp counselors about how to prepare. That's what our friends at FEMA do. I don't have the expertise to build a radio. No way, right? But I do know people who have trucks and warehouses who can help get that stuff there. That's why it's such an effective partnership, is we're all doing the things that we're best at. So it's just, it feels good to be part of something like that. But at the same time, that it's beyond just the feeling good. It's knowing that this is going to save lives. And that's the really cool thing about it.
By the way, if you guys are just joining us, and we'll have this interview posted later on today, Kathy Fulton is the Executive Director for American Logistics Aid Network, Alan, of course. And as you probably have guessed, Kathy, because you've kind of gone along for the ride, what we've been really doing here is kind of using this specific program, this noble program, as a way of kind of explaining what it is Alan does, because you're the only nonprofit dedicated to coordinating disaster logistics between the private sector and relief organizations. I don't know if anybody's noticed, we have actually used a very specific example of that to kind of explain you guys' role in filling the gap. You act as the conduit. You're the one that brings these people together, correct?
You got it, Jimmy. I mean, the industry after Hurricane Katrina 20 years ago, just last month, said, you know what? We are the experts. We're the ones who are out there moving the stuff that people are selling. Why aren't we the same ones who use that same expertise to move stuff to help people on their worst day? And it's ever since, every disaster that happens, we're out there helping to bring people together, people who are good-hearted and generous and want to do good. We're helping connect them to the people who are making it happen on the ground. I always say, like, I'm not going to be the person in the shelter handing out the hot meal and the bottle of water, but I'm darn sure going to be the person who makes sure it gets there, right? That's the role that our industry can play.
We're out of time, but by the way, like I said, I hope you, I mean, here's the great news, though. As I said, we focused on that because it covers so many things that you guys do.
Mm-hmm.
They can actually help you audit disaster preparedness plans. They can help you strengthen your relationship with those relief organizations. They can actually help you identify and use those resources that you have to actually save the day faster. And they are actually making adjustments these days, helping people understand what reduced federal support looks like, and maybe some of that burden being assumed by the states and working with partners there as well, too. Anything else before we get out of here, Kathy? I'll give you the final word.
You know what? Just a thank you to all of your listeners, because we know that without you, there would be no support for disaster survivors. So check us out. Let us know how we can partner with all of you. So that's it. Thanks.
Thank you, Kathy Fulton. By the way, AlanAid.org, and you can find them on the Book of Face, the LinkedIn, the Gram of Insta, and all places where you get your information. Alan Aid, American Logistics Aid Network. Thank you, Kathy. We'll talk to you soon, hopefully under good conditions again.
All right. Thanks, sir.
All right.